So bringing you the news of the day, Jack Smith, the special prosecutor in the Trump classified documents case, filed a appeal today with the court to overturn that and allow the prosecution to continue. Also today, Trump shows up at Arlington Cemetery, National Cemetery, to honor those who died 3 years ago today at Abbey Gate in Kabul Airport's massacre of 13 American servicemen and wounding others. And locally, C.D. Lamb of the Dallas Cowboys agrees to massive 4-year contract extension, the second richest contract for a wide receiver in the NFL. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok tonight and the rest of the week, and the next Monday night, Chris is back a week from tomorrow night. I mentioned earlier that this last Saturday, played golf with my buddy Don Gorman and Tim Rooney and Mike Lang. And Tim Rooney, at the age of 78, has 3 birdies and a hole-in-one and shoots 73. It was a career round. It was one of those rounds of golf that you'll never see again. It all went right. And the guy had a hole-in-one, his first hole-in-one. I videotaped it afterwards on my phone of him walking up because he thought he hit the ball long. He didn't think it was in the hole. I knew it was in the hole, so I said, Tim, wait, before you get out of the cart and walk over there, I want to pull out my phone, videotape you walking up, because I'm telling you that's in the hole. That was a really cool moment for me, so I want to thank the guys for having me out to play, and I appreciate it very much. We talk about hole-in-ones. I've probably seen almost 30 hole-in-ones in my life where I've played with somebody. Either I've had 2 myself. My buddy Jim's had 1. I was with him. Earl, my buddy's had 2. I was with him. My accountant, Dave Anderson, played with him in a tournament in Pinehurst, North Carolina. We got our butts kicked when he shot 38 and had a hole-in-one, and I drug his butt down the whole round. It's a rare shot in golf, and it's unusual to see so many hole-in-ones. I threw the question out, have you had them, and what have you seen? And tell me experience of those. And we're talking to Leo from Fort Worth. He started to tell me a story about entertaining customers for a buddy of his out at Colonial Country Club. And Leo, I've never played Colonial because it's a private club. I've not been there and had the joy to play it, but I'm familiar with the 16. So finish your story about what you did. I think this is going to be a Caddyshack moment, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, as soon as Donald hit the ball out of bounds on cue, it hit the dumpster like we had planned for it to do, but the guy had a 2-before down there in the bushes ready to hit the dumpster, didn't need to, but at the same time he starts reeling a ball that we had on fishing line out of the red tip petunias and down the hill toward the green.
Yeah.
And I've got the group behind him on 15 green watching, and I was calling him a lucky son of a gun because he hit the dumpster and the ball stayed in bounds and came back on the green. And so it all looks like a big kind of a funny happening, and all of a sudden this ball just keeps getting closer and closer and closer to the hole. And my friend starts yelling, go in, go in. And soon enough, it got to the hole and just went down and disappeared. And he had a hole-in-one, everyone thought, of course. And we had pulled this off, and all these guys are in the group around and on a group with me on 15 green, knowing they're going to have to hit their hip for $1,000 each. And we had 9 players, and not counting Donald, that's $8,000 loose for a hole-in-one.
Ooh.
And Donald just raises his hands up and starts pointing one guy at a time. That's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, so on, all the way around. And just making them feel terrible, you know. And they're all downtrodden when they are driving up to the green, and I came in behind it. We just kind of stopped on number 15, and I drove up to go into celebration. And, of course, Donald picks a ball up out of the hole, and it's got this fishing line on it. But nobody sees it because it's so far away from where they are. But we then told them that it was a scam and that they didn't have to pay the $1,000. And we go into the 18th hole or 19th hole, and one of the guys said, "Oh yeah, I knew that was a fake deal. That ball kind of jerked when it got down." I said, "There's only one thing I know that jerked, and that was your when you
wallet
go in. But anyway, it was a fun time, and these guys really thought they were going to have to shell out $1,000 a piece for that hole in one.
That's Leo. That's when you know you're with friends. That first of all, that's the beautiful thing I love about golf, because it unites us. And nobody ever asks you for Republican or Democrat or what you think of policies. It's just a bunch of guys together yanking each other's chain, and that you felt comfortable enough to do it with them, to try to pull a prank on them. And to have a good laugh afterwards and go up and have a cocktail. And, that's a story that every one of those guys will be telling the rest of their life.
Yeah, and we did that maybe 8 or 10 more times to different people after we perfected it with that group of people. And we just did it for fun. And I'll never forget, I had a state representative, for Texas state representative, and he had one of his office staff with him that was like a page or whatever they call them. And the poor guy, when he sees the ball go in the hole on 16, he walks over to me and he says, "Mr. Wadley, my checkbook's in the car. Is that okay?" I felt so sorry for him, because he was, probably, I don't know whether he was a voluntary or he got paid just a pittance for being a page, but I said, "Hey, son, listen to this. We're just playing a joke on Fred, so you're not losing a single cent." So you could just see the sigh of relief. But yeah, we pulled that stunt several times, and the club manager used to always tell it during the golf tournament when people came in, and you couldn't have done it during the golf tournament because there are bleachers in the way, and all of that stuff. But yeah,
what makes that story even better is you did it on a politician, someone in politics. That's what makes it even funnier.
Yeah, that's right.
Leo, that's funny. Thank you, Leo, for telling the story. Yeah. I appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, sitting in for Chris Krok. I love golf stories. There's a lot of funny things that can happen on a golf course that, again, I've said many times, as an employer and hiring people, I would rather spend 4 hours with somebody on a golf course than interview them for 40 minutes in an office. You give me 4 hours with somebody on a golf course, and I'll tell you a lot about their integrity, their honesty, their sincerity, their ability to lead, their ability to make good decisions or bad decisions. Give me 4 hours with somebody on a golf course. I'll tell you a lot more about them at the end of that 4 hours, rather than sitting in an office. Got a story about golf or something like I'd love to hear, 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff. On the other side of this, I'm going to hit a quick break. On the other side of it, I want to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris and her absence, why she's absent, and what that means to the presidential race for November. Name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. So, excuse me. I saw a story earlier today about media availability. Now, since July 21st, when Kamala was anointed, the number of formal interviews or news conferences that Kamala has participated in is zero. Zero. The woman's running for president of the United States and done zero formal interviews, zero news conferences. Donald Trump, you guess how many Donald Trump has done? Can you guess? I'll tell you what that number is in about 6 minutes. But first, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that I'm a dad. I'm a father. Again, I'll tell you how many conferences Trump has done in about 6 minutes or so. My name is Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, sitting in for Chris Krok. Chris is back a week from tomorrow. I'm sitting in this week and a Monday night. And you can interact with me across social media at Westside Jeff, or call 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-WBAP. I have two daughters. And as my daughters were preparing to go to college, we did college visits. You've done that. This is the time where parents are taking their kids and going back to college. And if you're a parent and you're taking your child to college for the first time right now, You talk about an emotionally painful time. It's now. The most quiet drive I've ever had in my life was when we took our oldest daughter, Danielle, up to almost just past Knoxville to college, and took her to college the first time. And that drive back here was the worst. I kid you not. I don't think me and Mrs. Westside Jeff said 7 words to each other. I've never in my life been in a car with my wife for as long as I was for that trip from here to there and back, almost Knoxville, and almost never talked to her because we're sniffling, crying through that drive. I mean, a 24-hour window of just pain of taking our oldest daughter that first drive to college. The second one was easier, but that was even just as difficult. It was easier because we knew what we were doing, but it's even more difficult because that was our baby. That was our last one. At that point, both kids are out of the house. So before we did the college thing, we did college tours. We went to multiple universities. We went all across the state of Tennessee. We went through Kentucky. I was born and raised up in Ohio, so we checked out some Ohio schools. We went to multiple schools, and we went and did college visits. When we did college visits, just like you, we walked in to the colleges. We had pre-meetings in advance. We knew where we were going, what we were doing. The whole purpose of the college visit was to meet with professors, to meet with department heads in the academic field they were choosing. We asked a lot of questions about their educational practices, about the educational attainment, that once you have that degree, what does it look like on the other side? About the things that we could expect. What is it your college offers my daughter to groom her for a career path that makes her a better citizen, that gives her an earning path through the rest of her life, that gives her a career, that will give her the education to follow her dreams and to get where she wants? It was an interview. It was like a job interview. We went to multiple colleges. We interviewed professors, department heads, department chairs. In a couple of cases, we actually met the presidents or chancellors of the universities to ask about the university experience. We were interviewing them to see, do we want to send our child to this college? And does our daughter, does it feel right for her? Does she feel that she can go in and get a good education and get support and get academic support and in an education that will advance her career path? Right? Isn't that what you do? I mean, you've done that. We do that. We go interview to see, is it the right thing for us? Isn't that what a presidential election should be? Isn't that what an election should be? That the candidates should be on a platform explaining to us, explaining to me, explaining to you why they deserve to earn our vote. What is it they see as problems in our community, in our businesses? What is it they perceive are challenges and problems that we have to economic issues, to societal issues, to professional and home-based issues, that they can help solve some of those problems through policies, through legislation, through things that they can do to make life for me, life for you a little easier. That's what an election should be. The county prosecutors do that. The dog catcher does that. The wardens do that. The sheriffs do that. The governors do that. The mayors do that. The city council members do that. Our House of Representatives members do that. U.S. Senate candidates do that. And presidential candidates are supposed to do that. Now, Donald Trump is doing that. Everywhere he goes, he's talking policies. He's talking about energy independence. He's talking about the economy. He's talking about border. He's talking about crime. He's talking about safety and security. But not the Democrats. You see, last week in the DNC, they talked about joy and hope. It's Obama Part 2. Hope, see change. They want to see change us is what they want to do. And it's partially Joe Biden's election also. Hide her in the basement. They're hiding Kamala because Kamala is not very good off script. Kamala can't dance on her own. Kamala is best in an environment with a script in front of her and explaining what she has to explain. But the other problem is this. She can't explain anything because they haven't done anything. All they have to do is, she's in a tough role. This is where I have some empathy for her. Even if she is a good person, she can't sit up there and say Joe Biden's policies are all wrong, I'm going to change them, because she's part of that problem. So she has to be Joe Biden part 2. That's tough to run in a presidential election. That's very difficult to do. And that's what we're up against. That's why they're hiding her. That's why it's all going to be scripted. And that's why the national reporting media are going to be public relations agents for this election. The only way they can win outside of cheating is going to be making identity politics. Trump is bad. He's a racist. He's a demagogue. And we aren't. And I'm not Trump. That's how she's got to win. And she can. I want to talk about the other side of this, about her attacks, the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats are all about joy and their joyful war on entrepreneurs. I want to talk about that right after the bottom of the hour news. We've got Sean Allen coming up in about 3 minutes on the other side of that. I want to talk about the Democrats' joyful war on entrepreneurs. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. In for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on 93.3 FM. So you watched the DNC last week. By the way, I looked up TV ratings, and it's interesting. The TV ratings for the DNC was higher than the RNC. That kind of surprised me. I guess I didn't expect that. The ratings for the Democratic National Convention being higher than the RNC, because but I'm a Republican in a Republican state, and I just didn't sense the passions there for the Democrats. But it's somewhere, somehow, right? But when the Democrats talk about boosting the middle class, what do they mean? What are they talking about? Well, so my name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok. Americans who turned into Kamala Harris's coronation last week heard from a lot of celebrities, labor leaders, and politicians. But who was missing? Who was missing from the stage last week? I'll tell you in about 1 minute. Again, the TV ratings for the DNC were pretty high. And one of the things I remember watching the roll call on whatever night that was, and Mrs. Westside Jeff walked in and said, "Are you really watching this crap, this trash?" I said, "Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I love how they did the roll call." I'm a student of current events, and I can appreciate great current events. I think they did a really good job at that. When they went to each individual state, they had a DJ playing songs from artists associated with that state. Like when they went to Georgia, they bring out Lil Wayne, who did a performance. Turn out for what? And I thought that was really good. I can appreciate that. But Americans last week who turned in for Kamala Harris coronation, again, they heard from celebrities like Lil Wayne and many others who were there, labor leaders who were there. You expect them, and politicians. But you know what was missing from their what I'd call their joyous celebration was entrepreneurs who generate middle class jobs. That's no surprise. She got cheered on by the crowd. Democrats took turn whacking oligarchs and corporate monopolists. But by the time Harris took the stage, the piñatas pickings had already been splattered around. They'd been beating the hell out of businesses. Corporate greed, big corporate citizens. They are the bane of our. They are our enemy. Democrats if Democrats plan to do anything when they win, they want to destroy wealth creators. That's small businesses. Many of you are small business owners or work in and around small businesses and have small business empathy. But it really is about small businesses that creates wealth. Small businesses are creators of wealth so they can spread the jobs. It creates jobs is what it does. They tell us, the Democrats last week said corporate greed is the one true enemy. They said all along. The UAW president, Sean Fain, proclaimed that one night. He said, it's our one true enemy. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders insisted the party, quote unquote, must take on big pharma, big oil, big ag, big tech, and all the other corporate monopolists whose greed is denying progress for working people. Senator Bob Casey from Pennsylvania railed against greedflation, he called it, and accused corporations of extorting families. Then Obama comes out. He blasted Trump and his quote-unquote well-heeled donors. For them, one group's gains is necessarily another group's loss, according to Obama, is what he said. He goes on to say, for them, freedom means that powerful can do pretty much what they please, whether it's fire workers, trying to organize a union, or put poison in our rivers, or avoid paying taxes like everybody else has to do. That was what Obama said. The Democrats, you see, my problem with them is they treat wealth as a zero-sum game. And so Obama and his straw men are rich, and that's how they get rich. They get richer by making everyone else poor. Taking away from the well-off is the only way for them to enhance the lives of poor and middle class, is what they say. Hence the left's plans to raise taxes on billionaires and businesses to finance more welfare. I call the Democratic Party the party of Robin Hood. Steal from the rich and give to the poor. It's truly a reclassification of wealth is what they're all about, except for themselves, of course. It isn't enough that the top 1% of earners, we already pay 45.8% of federal income tax, which funds government services and welfare for the bottom half. Again, it's redistribution of wealth is what their policy is. And as for poisoning rivers, former President Obama, he kind of quite forgot that his Environmental Protection Agency caused the 2015 Gold King mine disaster, which spilled toxic waste into Colorado's Animas River. So that's on Obama. Success isn't all about zero-sum game. When a businessman succeeds, he creates jobs that help the poor. Envy and the tearing down of the successful makes everyone poor. And that's what the Democrats do. Rather than plunder the wealth, society should celebrate success and try to help everyone prosper, not beat them down. Democrats refer to such ideas as trickle-down economics in a bad way. They denounce and diminish business success and claim that the wealth have profited from greed and government. Obama's line in 2012 that if you've got a business, you didn't build that. That's how they think. But rather than try to make it easier for businesses to succeed by reducing taxes or easing regulations, and if you're a business owner, you know what I'm talking about. That's what it's all about. Get off my back and make it easier for me. Get the government out of my business and make it business-friendly policies. Democrats want to do the opposite. They call for leveling the playing field and growing the middle class out. Those are euphemisms for taxing successful people so that government can hand out the money. But you see, government doesn't create wealth. People do. Small businesses do. So while business success isn't zero-sum, government growth can be zero-sum. You see, its expansion makes it more difficult for business to thrive. Government growth makes it smaller for businesses to grow. The result is fewer jobs, lower wages, less tax revenue, which finances essential public services such as law enforcement and safety net for the indigent. Trump's appeal in 2016 partly stemmed from slowing economic growth during the Obama presidency. The Republican promised to make all Americans richer by liberating businesses from government's shackles at that time. Trump's deregulation and tax cuts worked. Average real wages increased nearly 70% faster than his first 3 years during Obama's presidency. The attack, this joyful spread, this joyful glee that Kamala Harris and the Democrats proposed last week is about crapping on small business. And that makes for larger government, lower wages, smaller middle class, more wealthier Democrats at the top, and leaving us behind. I'll continue this conversation. I want to hear your thoughts at 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. Continue this in about 4 minutes. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, and for Chris Krok on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Westside Jeff is the name in for Chris Krok. I'm on the rest of the week as Chris takes a well-deserved vacation. He'll be back next Tuesday night after Labor Day. I'll be with you to the rest of this week during this time, and then also next Monday night. Name is Jeff, Westside Jeff, born and raised up in the state of Ohio. Now get a chance to sit in Chris's chair every now and then and just have a conversation with you. Talking about the DNC last week. For those that watched it, and yes, I didn't watch all of it. I just had to bite my tongue. Not bite my tongue. I had to force myself to watch some of it because it was so painful. Because it was a beat down on corporations, on small businesses. And what really bothered me the most about that last week was the attack on small businesses, because small business is what really drives our country. And government makes it harder than ever for businesses to operate. The policies, the regulations, something as simple as this. I played golf yesterday with a buddy of mine that owns a heating and air conditioning company. And he said that the refrigerant in the air conditioning systems in your home, the Carriers, the Bryant, the Tempstars, the Reams, whatever it is changing for 2025. So on January 1st, 2025, what they sell now they cannot sell anymore. That they'll have to sell a whole new a whole new unit that has a different kind of refrigerant in it that is supposed to be green friendly. It's supposed to be more sensitive to climate change, global warming, all those things. And it's government regulation. And I said, how's that impact your business? He said, well, first, it's going to cost you, Jeff, 20% more to pay for on January 2nd than it would be now. But it's going to be more compliant, government compliant. And I said, he's a Republican. He's part of the state central committee too. I said, what's your opinion on the whole thing? He said, it's overreach. It's just pure overreach. And it's stupid. Costs more money. Manufacturers have to shut down their manufacturing lines and retool themselves. There'll be a time frame in between where they don't produce anymore. And I said, well, what about folks like me that have an older air conditioner? Can I get still refrigerant for it? He said, yeah, but they're going to continue to increase the price in the next 5, 7, 10, 20 years. That makes it more affordable for you to get rid of that old air conditioner and buy a new one. And I'm like, there's your government for you. So last week, the DNC, the entire DNC was about a beat down on small businesses, on corporations. So what they fail to understand is those businesses are what creates a middle class. You see, government, education, and healthcare and social assistance, those 5 or 4 things account for more than 60% of new jobs added in the last year. Now, in 17 states where Democrats boast a trifecta, meaning they control the governorship and both legislative chambers, the share of that's 98%. That's the job growth. Those 98%. Now, in the 23 states where the Republicans have a trifecta, it's 47%. That there defines the difference between you and I and the Republicans and those on the other side. We are pro-business. They are anti-business. Now, likewise, when it comes to average wage growth since the start of the pandemic has been lower in the high-tax states such as Illinois, New York, California, than in the low-tax states. You got states out there low state taxes, including Texas, Florida, and South Dakota. That's why daily you hear news about a company from California leaving California and migrating to Texas. They're coming south, and it's because of a pro-business environment. If middle-class Americans want to get richer, they ought to move to Miami, Dallas, or Sioux Falls because of the growth in businesses. Come on down. Come to Texas because we're a business-friendly state. That's what I'm talking about. That last week the DNC was all about a beat down to corporations and small businesses. It was an attack on those who create wealth and hire employees, those who encourage middle class growth versus government dependence. That's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. You get an opinion, 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP. You can also hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff.